Did you see? Oh my God. I am unbelievably excited for this baseball season, and has nothing to do with the Cardinals and has everything to do
with the Astros.
Watching the Astros city to city. Did you see that whoever on the Cards beaned Bregman today?
I did not see that.
Doesn't beaning kind of imply they got hit in the head though?
Whatever. Whatever.
He got hit by a pitch, and I'm like, yes. I don't know who did it. I was hoping there'd be a replay of it on the baseball subreddit, or at least on Cardinals. Didn't see it. I think because of Split Squad, were neither of the games broadcast? I don't know. All my brother said was that Bregman got hit. I'm like, fuck this.
Don't worry. Here you go. Here's a link to a tweet.
Holy shit! Did you see the St. Paul Saints promo item that they're doing?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'll send it to you over Telegram.
Santos is the pitcher. Have no idea who this kid is, but that's who threw it. Apparently, Astros players have been hit by pitches 7 times through 3 games.
That is the July 31st giveaway for the St. Paul Saints.
Astro the Grouch do not steal. My lord. I assume the St. Paul Saints are a Twins affiliate.
One would think.
One would hope so, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's the what was the latest?
Oh no, they're an indie ball. They're an indie league.
Are they indie ball?
That makes that makes more sense.
Yeah, I was reading the thing about George Springer getting booed hard, and then oh, this is gonna be a great season. Have you heard that the opening series tickets against the Astros and Angels are like just selling so hard?
Man.
Behind him in the video is doing a double. Oh man. It's gonna be a good season. It's gonna be it's gonna be so much shit. Oh man.
I just oh man, I can't. Everything is unbelievable. Like, what the fuck?
I said this in I definitely said this at least once, and it was like, I thought that this was my optimism. I'm like, I sure hope that these guys are like not willing to be this, like, these big of scumbags out of whole cloth. Like,
oh Jesus, like it's insane how they dug in. Like, you don't dig in. Like, once you got caught. Shit happens. You don't dig in. They just dug their heels in. Commissioner Mayor's report. Oh, no, we only cheated the 1 year. I can't believe they think we cheated all 3 years. Like, well, actually, you cheated the 2 years. Yeah, but we only cheated 2 years, not 3 years. Why don't you believe us when we say we only cheated 2 years, not 3 years? Like, maybe because you cheated at least once. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know that
Unbelievable.
I don't know that I necessarily buy the, like, I get the argument for pulling the title. I don't oppose it at all, but I don't buy that it's like, well, they got their World Series win. Again, if they strip it, I have no opinion either way.
Oh, but don't worry, because it didn't affect the outcome of the game, according to the owner.
Yeah, you have your World Series, but it's like, it's tarnished. There's no, like, if this were 10 years after the fact and then it was breaking, and then you're like, well, they had 10 years of all the profit generated from that. That's one thing. But this just happened. Everybody who's an honest fan has been just like fucking roasted by this. Like, I do have a lot of sympathy for the honest Astros fans who, like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, for the Dodgers fans who got the championship robbed, you're like, well, that fucking sucks. But Astros, like, a lot of these fans, like, got their fandom robbed. Like, yeah. How do you?
I've seen people who are like, I'm looking for a different team to be a fan of now because I can't be an Astros fan anymore. Like, it's wild.
That's a different level of soul crushing. And what was the connection here? Oh yeah, it's just like they didn't want to be caught. Like if you get busted the year after you stole your World Series, like well they got they won the World Series, they got their win. Like yeah, but they didn't, because like you're not going to be able to generate much money off of that, right? You're not going to be. I don't know.
Some of them made their money already.
They need to forfeit the purse, and they need to give Judge the MVP. And
yeah. I mean, whatever. Like they didn't give Matt Kemp his MVP, right? The one that Ryan Braun stole. So, like, what are you gonna do?
Well, Ryan Braun was really good the next year.
Okay, but he was also on steroids. So, like,
what was he cheating the next year? Because he got busted that year. I don't know if he was cheating the next year. I feel like that's not my whole. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think everybody would actually agree with that.
I think he got busted the year after that. Like he got busted, and he said no, it didn't happen. Like it was fake, and then he got proper busted a year later. Like so, in 2013 is when he got suspended. So I mean, I would fully buy that he got away with it in 2011 and kept doing it in 2012. I feel like that's not an unreasonable thing like to assume
and the other thing, and this is what I read this several years ago. I read this big old book on various Sports Illustrated. It was a compilation of Sports Illustrated baseball writing, and what a lot of players did on steroids is they weren't taking them in season, they were using it before the season. They were doing a cycle, getting into super good shape, and then writing that into the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, Braun's suspension was weird too because he didn't technically test negative. He just got caught up in the biogenesis thing.
Yeah. I've had this gif of Springer kind of stumbling on repeat over and over and over. Well, I'm just thinking if the news broke before the votes went out in 2017, like the expectation would be nobody vote for an Astro, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If the news broke before the awards came out, I feel like a lot of the writers would be like, no, strike our Astros votes, right? Like the old school guys, surely they'd be like, no, doesn't count.
I don't know.
So I think there's a reasonable argument too. Like, and the thing is, effectually, if you're striking Altuve from, like, if you're saying that MVP no longer exists, then the effect of that is that Judge is MVP.
Sure, but then again, like, I don't see how you don't then go back and give Matt Kemp Ryan Braun's MVP.
I think people kind of, I think LA fans would certainly be in favor of that.
Sure, yeah. I just don't think you can go down that rabbit hole if you can't finish what you started.
Why can't you finish what you started? Why can't you try and understand? It doesn't make a bit of difference if you start what you can't finish. Every story needs an ending after all.
Hello, helicopters, and welcome to this episode of Motion City Podcast. I want to say 8. This is 8. This feels like 8. Feels like 8 is correct. I am Naim Siddiqui, your host. Joining me as always, your co-host, Jacob Walden. How's it going, Jake?
Great.
I almost called you Joseph, which is like not even Joe's name is Joseph.
That's a fucking J name, close enough.
I don't know what I was thinking. Jake, I don't remember if this was before we recorded last. I know we didn't bring it up, but at some point in the last couple of weeks, Jake changed his Twitter bio to quiet second at Motion City Pod, and I'm about it. I'm a big fan. I did eventually. I don't remember. I was like, did I change my Twitter bio? And I just checked. I'm like, yes, I did. It's host of Motion City Pod, and then all my other podcasts that are on hiatus, and some of them should probably go away because I don't think The Kids Are All Left is coming back, for example. Anyway, today's song is Can't Finish What You Started But before I ask Jake why he picked that song, we're going to talk about something else that started, which is production on Justin Pierre's new solo album. He's got technically a second solo album. There's like a middle EP there, but his second solo full length record is currently being created, I guess. I don't know if like it's all written and being just recorded now.
I feel like I saw a picture on Instagram.
Yeah, there's on Instagram and Twitter, and like it's all over. It's so it's Justin. It is he's calling it a solo album. So I think it's officially a solo album, but alongside him it's Bill McShane of I forget the name of the other Ultimate Fake Book, as well as the Pride of Erie, Pennsylvania, which was a band that he was in with Tony, who is also recording on this album. So Bill McShane and Tony were both in Pride of Erie, Pennsylvania. Obviously, Justin and Tony were both in Motion City Soundtrack. And then Brett Gurwitz, who is mostly a producer now, but also was in Bad Religion. And then Brian Keith Diaz, who appears to be playing music as well, but I know him best as a photographer because he did a lot of the photography on this last Motion City Soundtrack tour. So I guess he plays music. I don't know if he's in a band or what, but like his website is briandiazphoto.com. But I definitely see him holding I don't know if it's a guitar or a bass because I can't see I think it must be a bass. So I don't know. I don't know. But so it's those five guys, but it is a Justin solo album. So presumably they're just, acting as session musicians for it. And he said session 1 of 5 that he hopes to record before the year is up, and no idea when it'll come out. And I also don't know if it's going to be these 5 guys for the whole album, or if it's like these 5 guys on this part, and then maybe back in Minneapolis, because on the last solo album, Josh did a lot of the recording. Maybe Josh is going to do some of the stuff on the next album. I think a lot of it was also like Justin doing stuff and tracking stuff, and that was what the previous album was. So maybe he doesn't want to do a lot of that necessarily. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm digging this picture of them in the studio with the deer head above Tony.
Which one am I looking at?
Is that just like a vinyl? Is that actually? Or
it looks like an inflatable deer head with a sombrero on it.
It doesn't look. I feel like the shadowing is off. But I can definitely see the shadow on the wall. Never mind.
Yeah, but it looks like the head part, like the actual face part, looks like it's round, like a Matryoshka doll.
Yeah. Cool picture.
You pull the deer head off, and it's another animal head inside, a wolf head or something. I don't know.
This is a real obscure connection, but you mentioning the photographer / musician reminds me of this. There's this international master chess player named Eric Rosen, and he does a lot of he's not the principal photographer at major tournaments, but he's like a semi. I don't know, but he is at chess tournaments taking pictures of the grandmasters playing. So
I will say real quick, so I'm looking at the credits for Justin's solo album In the Drink, the first solo album he did, and he's like the only instrument listed besides Justin is David Jarnstrom on drums. Otherwise it says Justin for lead vocals, guitar, songwriting, art direction, but I'm sure he also played the bass, and any piano parts that were on there were all him. Yeah, Pierre plays every instrument on the album aside from trumpet and drums, which were played by David Bjornstrom of Gratitude. So I think maybe he's trying to get a full band in, which is cool because I think you love solo stuff, but a cool thing about getting other musicians in, especially accomplished musicians like the ones that he's getting with him right now, is that you get bounce other ideas around, and so you get more stuff going on. Obviously Justin was the primary songwriter for Motion City Soundtrack, but In the Drink doesn't really sound like a Motion City Soundtrack record, even though it's the same primary songwriter, because you don't have the other 4 major voices coming in and doing stuff. I also feel like this bodes really well for a potential Motion City Soundtrack album.
Yes.
The fact that Justin's recording with Tony, not that they weren't friends, it's just they weren't talk like your friend moves to LA, you live in Minnesota, you're not going to talk all that much. Stuff happens, like life happens. My best friend lives in St. Louis, I live in Chicago, and we occasionally chat on Discord, and then I see him when I'm in town. Like that's how life goes. But so like I just feel like it bodes well because I think I said at met him in the last episode. Justin and Josh hang out a lot because they live in the same city. Tony hangs out with Jesse. Tony hangs out with Matt because they're close friends. Like, it feels like it's one of those things where the band that broke up got back together. Now they're like, well, we still want to hang out. Let's just keep hanging out a little bit, right? Like, so I don't know. I'm hopeful. This gives, like, even though it's for Justin's solo record, it gives me hope for another Motion City record.
I've just been nodding like for the last 2 minutes. Yeah, new album, yeah.
But I also hope Justin's next solo record is good. I liked In the Drink, but I don't listen to it nearly as often as I listen to every Motion City record. So, all right, and yeah, he says like he doesn't know when it's going to come out. Hopefully in the next few years. So, I mean, God knows what that means.
Yeah, in the picture, he's like, we've got 3 songs in 3 hours. Like, cool.
Yeah.
We figure it'll be out within the next few years. Like, all right.
Like,
ambitious.
Okay. I mean, yeah, producing takes time and stuff like that. And I think Josh produced the previous record, but I think Brett Gurwitz is supposed to be producing this record because he definitely tweeted, looking forward to occupying that comfy producer's couch, which implies that he is not intending to play music, just intending to produce the record, which he didn't. I don't think he produced any Motion City stuff, but he did produce a lot of stuff on Epitaph, including the Bad Religion stuff, and then some NoFX albums, some Rancid stuff, Matchbook Romance. So like he's produced in the in the sphere, but no Motion City stuff, and now appears to be producing Justin's new record. So, yep, that's that. That's the little news portion. Hopefully we have more news every week. I'm always happy to have news. News means that things are happening. So that's the news portion. Now we're going to finish what we started. Huh? All right. Yeah. And talk about Can't Finish What You Started. Jake, why'd you pick this song?
Well, we were talking about doing this on an earlier episode, but things changed. But in listening to the song so much, like every song is talked about, is when you listen to it over and over, I find myself getting new appreciation for it in different ways. And that was what I'd listened to the most recently, besides what we did last time, which is I'm just a fucking blank slate right now.
Capital H.
Since this is the next song I next most listened to, it was already in my head. And
yeah, actually, so I think we were going to do this for last week's episode. Was the initial intent. I had picked this song for last week's episode, which I have already forgotten. I was thinking about this and then went to the show and decided to do Capital H because of the concert, because it was a nice little segue into the concert. But yeah, Can't Finish What You Started has always been one of my favorites. I don't remember if I mentioned on the show at some point, but I used to do a YouTube series, like a little short YouTube series, where there's a podcast that I watch and listen to called Night Attack. And they do a yearly movie draft, which I also do with a couple of friends as well. Which it's just, we draft movies, and whoever's movies make the most money is the winner at the end of the season. And so, like, when I was a freshman in college, I decided to do like a recap show for the movie draft. It was called the show was called NSFW at the time. It's called Night Attack now, but it's called NSFW. It was the NSFW Movie Draft Weekly Recap Show. And the theme song for the show was Can't Finish What You Started. And it was because it was right at the time I was getting into Motion City. I don't remember why I picked Can't Finish What You Started. I think I just liked the song. And so that was our theme song, was Can't Finish What You Started. And it was actually I think it was the breakdown at the end was the theme song, because it's instrumental, so it's really easy to like get in and talk over a little bit if you need to. But yeah, so Can't Finish What You Started is a song that I have like a specific history with. So that was actually that's how I started one of the episodes, because I hadn't I think recorded in like 2 months or something like that, because like busy with college, came back from school. I was at home for the winter break, and the opening was, "How's it going? I'm Kuhan. Why can't I finish what I started?" And this is the answer to from a Movie Draft Weekly recap show. So so yeah, that's my history with this song. It's one of what it I think has moved down in the leaderboards, but I think for a good chunk of time is when I was first getting into the band. I think it was my favorite Motion City soundtrack song. Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts on the song?
The more I listen to it and I finally did this after intending to song after song, is try to really pay attention to Tony's drumming on it.
What's funny, I didn't at all.
Well,
it's backwards this
maybe,
time.
Maybe part of that is also because it's especially easy with this, because there are 2 videos of Tony doing the drumming for this song. And so you have the tutorial, which doesn't have the backing music, and then the like actual drum along,
Yeah.
And that's him drumming with the song. And I really like the beginning drums on this. I'm still not sure what I'm hearing, because I know even watching him from both angles, I'm like, it's still somehow just translates into no idea what he's doing with the drumming in my head. But it just feels like there's so much energy on that drum line that it takes you right into the song.
Let me play a little bit of the drum along video here, so we can maybe get a little idea of that right here.
Why can't you finish what you started?
So yeah, so it's a cool little, like, it's, especially looking at what he's doing, it's an interesting fill. And I love the because he has 2 YouTube channels. I think I mentioned this at one point. It feels like maybe he forgot the the password to one of them or something like that. But the older channel was all tutorials, and the newer channel is all like just him drumming along. And the newer channel is a lot more recent stuff, which was like, oh, I think they've known I think they've known it for a long time. Suffice to say, it's been a while that they were coming back, because he's been like practicing the drums for all these parts for a year. But it's cool to see the drum alongs, especially because you get a little bit more of the drums and you can just sort of see him. So if you're a good drummer, which I'm not, you can like figure it out just by watching. But if you're a bad drummer, which I am, then you can watch some of the older stuff on the Tony Thaxton Tube channel and learn a little bit of that. So I don't know, I don't remember if he actually says the names of the drums when he talks about it, but here's a little clip from the tutorial video.
Okay, this is one of my personal favorites. We've hardly ever played it live, though, which I'm a little bummed about because it's so fun to play. The part sounds much harder than it is. Hardest part is crossing your arms over. But when you break it down, it's pretty simple. The kick the whole time is... You're just playing straight on the hi-hat, but it's going back and forth between the open hi-hat and the floor tom. So that's what you're going to do the whole time there. When you break.
So what's funny is, like, he talks about how simple it is, but like I'm the thing for me that's hardest about drumming, especially because I only started learning drums like a year and a half, like 2 years ago, as an adult. and it's so much harder to learn a new instrument as a 25-year-old than it is as a 15-year-old or whatever. I don't know how Tony was when he started learning drums, but like the footwork is the most difficult thing. And like, there's definitely stuff that's like, you just got to do this. And he doesn't even mention the foot part, like, which is fine. Like, I totally get it. If I understood how to play drums better, I would have no trouble with the foot part. But I'm watching him do the foot part, and I'm like, no, this is like doing the right foot and then doing a different thing on the left foot is not as easy as you're making it look, Tony.
I've had the more recent video up. I had that muted while you were playing the tutorial, and yeah, it's just like that beginning. It's so fluid, and it's just nonstop. Like,
well, that's one thing that I forget what video I was watching. I think it might have been the Time Turned Fragile one, but it could have been the Everything Is All Right one. And one of the top comments was like, "This is a crash course in limb independence," which is really important as a drummer, is doing one beat with your right hand, one beat with your left hand, one beat with your right foot, one beat with your left foot. Like, you're doing a different thing with each limb. And it's just like, if you can do that, like, more power to you, because I cannot. Like, I just cannot figure that. I like trying to play piano. I can barely figure out how to do something different with my right hand and my left hand on the other like part. Like with guitar, you just one hand does one thing, the other hand strums, and even there, like, doing a different strumming pattern can trip me up a lot of the time. So like, I am always in awe of drummers, because I just like, it does not make sense to my body. So, but yeah, it is a really cool groove that goes on, but it's one of those that's like, it's not flashy, right? Like the groove in well, and Everything Is All Right, right? The beat that starts off Everything Is All Right, like, that's a little flashy. It's not like it's a super hard drum part, but like it's very clear what it is. And like, especially the one like the breakdown of Time Turned Fragile, like that that is like, it's like, I love that drum part so much. But like in Can't Finish What You Started, like, it's a cool drum part, but it also works so well just like as just a fabric of the song that you don't even think about it on its own as a drum part necessarily, unless you're listening for it.
I don't have anything to add to that part of it. Yeah, like, I'm just saying, yeah, everything you said. Sure. I don't have any experience playing instruments, a tiny bit trying to learn the piano, but
For sure.
Nothing on the drums. Yeah, so I this is something I've wondered. I don't, because I don't listen to, like, aside from now 21 Pilots, since I seem to mention them so much, of course, it's Tyler Joseph and then Josh Dunn being the drummer of the band. That's the only music I listen to with, like, besides Motion City Soundtrack, with a dedicated drummer, and the rest of it, I think the rest of what I listen to, it's just like, I have no idea how music production works for in rap and hip hop, so I don't know how often in production they have like an actual drummer versus sampling from drums. But I don't have any listening context for how much he's, how, if he stands out, how much this is something that you see with all drummers. I just have no comparison.
Yeah, I think he's one of the better drummers. But obviously, like, I love the whole band so much that I think that they're great. But I think he's one of the. Well, I don't remember if I said this on the show or not, but I think one of the things that always sort of held Motion City Soundtrack back was that they're all so good at their instruments, whereas in a lot of pop punk, like, they're all just sort of okay. And sometimes it's the lead singer that shines. Like, Patrick Stump's vocals are really interesting, and Pete Wentz's lyrics for Fall Out Boy, and then in Panic at the Disco, again, the lyrics are interesting, and Brendan Urie's vocals are so tight. But like Blink-182 is just awful live. Like, they're so bad live. And I love Blink-182 is like top 5 bands for me, but they're notoriously bad live, like, which, aside from Travis Barker, who is the drummer, who is the only one of them who is good live. But like they're kind of a mess live, and so like that's one of the things of like Motion City is so tight. Like you go to a live show and it sounds almost too much like the album, right? Like there's certain songs where they're not like, or I feel like they're not doing enough to be different from the album. But then other songs, obviously, with participation. But it's I just feel like it's interesting, and that's always been my opinion that like they they were too good for their era. Like I don't know. But that's Tony I feel like is among that. Like Jesse a little bit less so, but also Jesse learned the synth like a month before they recorded I Am the Movie. And also like his part of his job at the shows is just to be the best fucking hype man in the world, and it's great. I love it so much. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on any other parts besides the drum part that you listened for finally? that you listened for and I didn't, like we swapped roles today.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like I think you do have a good idea for the drums, and especially since you can just reference the videos.
Yeah.
Well, I was getting on a little bit with the drums. I didn't know how to put it, if I should put it then or if when we got to talking about the vocals. But I also felt, and this might just be caused by focusing so much on the drums on later listens, but it feels like his vocals are more tight with the drums than other songs. Again, I could just be dead ass wrong here, but I feel like in thinking of the song, like when it's playing in my head, I have much more association with Justin's lyrics tied into especially the hat, I guess as it is, or just in general, a lot of the lyrics I remember when it plays again, and just the cymbals with Justin singing, and I don't know that I have that association as much on other songs.
Yeah, I like I said, I didn't listen for the drums, so I'm not sure what you're talking about on that specifically. But I'll try to like I now need to listen going forward, right, to see if you're right or wrong, like what it sounds like. Um, but yeah, I'll say I really like the little Moog part in the chorus, the boo doo doo boo doo doo boo doo 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 doo. I don't know. It's just like a nice like separated enough from what's going on, but works together with what's going on. Um, and I also think it works well in the acoustic version, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think even if it kills me is sort of the height of the poppiness of their albums, um and also like a decent amount of Moog. So like it's not like they were able to retain what they were, uh and then soften a little bit of the edge in a lot of this album, which some people might not like, but I think it worked for me. um but it does make this album, I think, the poppiest, which is again shocking that this isn't the first one that's on a major label. This one, by the way, Can't Finish What You Started, was produced by Adam Schlesinger and Eli Janney, just like the last one that we talked about off this album, which was Hella Helicopter, which I would have spent more time trying to remember if not for the fact that I was like, oh no, it's got to be Hella Helicopter. That's how we start the show. um, so yeah, it does track that, Schlesinger and Janney, Schlesinger obviously, like we said before, from Fountains of Wayne, would kind of make a little bit more of a poppy sound. Although I don't know, so did the Ryoga Kasich stuff is poppy too. It's surprising to me that this album is produced by three different people, but two different production teams if we include Ryoga Kasich as his own team, because I feel like it all flows well together. Like, so Can't Finish What You Started was produced by Schlesinger and Janney, but the song before it, Calling All Cops, was produced by Rick Ocasek, and the song after it, The Conversation, I believe was produced by Ed Ackerson. I think it was like additional production by Ed Ackerson because it was just it's just Justin and a piano. So I think they did that one in Minnesota. So like they, 3 songs in a row produced by different people, but I think it flows well together.
Another thing, something I saw when I was reading over the just the Wikipedia entry for Even If It Kills Me, was the specific praise that Justin had for Chris Shaw, who was credited on this song in the mixing.
Oh yeah, not on this song. He's on the
is that
Ocasek
just the
songs.
album?
No, he's
on Genius. He is listed under mixing on Can't Finish What You Started.
It might just be because it's not separated, but I think Tom Lord Alge did the mixing on.
He's also credited on here.
Yeah, I think Tom Lord Alge did the mixing on the Schlesinger Janney tracks, and Shaw did the mixing on the Ocasek tracks.
Mm-hmm.
That's because it says Chris Shaw, Ocasek's engineer, on the Wikipedia page. So I think I can't be sure because they don't really talk as much about that stuff. But yeah, Tom Lord Alge is like a super mixer. He mixes everything. He did like 5 Blink-182 albums. He did some Bon Jovi albums and Bowling for Soup albums. Like if you on his Wikipedia page, like here we go. I'm starting scrolling from the top of the discography now, and still scrolling, still scrolling, still scrolling, still scrolling. Oh my god, I'm still scrolling, and now I'm at the end. And this is select discography. So I don't think this is everything. Like he mixes a lot of albums. So it's I think this is the only Motion City album he mixed. Let me see if they're even listed in selected discography. No, he mixed Commit This Memory as well. Which makes sense because if you mixed a lot of Blink albums, Hoppus would know him well. Yeah. Any other preliminary thoughts before we talk about like lyric interpretations?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like this one is very straightforward as far as lyrics go, right? Like, is there anything in this song that isn't just like straightforward? This is what's happening.
Well, what's this say? What do we have on song meanings?
Well, so I wanted to ask you first before we go, but okay. So first is
I think it's about him not finishing what he started.
My interpretation of the song, rightly or wrongly, is that it's to do with relationships. I mean, sure, I'm probably wrong, but it works very well if you apply it to a relationship that's drifting in the wind. I think I've known it for a long time. Suffice to say, it's been a while. You're too afraid to face the outcome. Quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey, man, the clock is ticking. It makes me reflect on my own relationship. I've known for a long time and it's not working, but I'm too afraid to face the outcome. Wait, is this person talking about their own like current relationship at the time? Too afraid to end the story. Does this person need to dump his girlfriend? Is that what's happening? But yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward interpretation. A lot of them are about relationships. Can't finish what you started, but also a relationship.
I wonder if this is about sobriety.
Maybe, but he didn't get sober until after this one. But maybe he was starting to try. Because he went into rehab, I think 3 weeks after.
Or he was in rehab for 3 weeks after.
Following completion of the album, 3-week band, a 3-week rehabilitation program. So I don't know. Maybe that's interesting.
I just never
actually, so because somebody does say advice sounds like it could be a vice, because that's how I've always heard it too. I know it's hard without advice. Or maybe what fills the magic in the meantime, I know it's hard without a vice or advice. I don't know what it is.
I've always heard that D really, like, that these are the advice.
I've never heard that D. Well, let me check the Epitaph site. They usually have it, because I think it's not on the CD.
I'm just making this up. Let's see.
I've always heard, I know it's hard without a vice. Which would play into the drug theory, because drugs, vices. Yeah, Epitaph's website says, I know it's hard without a vice. So that plays into the rehab thing. I think that makes sense.
I've always heard it as advice. Yeah,
I've never heard it as advice. I'm actually surprised that you have. Here's something interesting. So somebody says, if you truly do believe in something, somehow it all works out. It says, for the life of me, I can't figure out if MCS is being uncharacteristically optimistic or ironic. I've always thought of it as ironic, specifically because like the way that it's sung, like it sounds like it's sung with irony, right? If you truly do believe in something, somehow it all works out. Like it sounds a little sarcastic, like just musically. So I've always thought it's like, I've always heard it as sarcastic, but what do you think? Do you feel the same way?
I don't actually think I do. I think I do feel.
I mean, that's, yeah.
I feel like because as it leads back into the chorus, I feel like the chorus is so optimistic that I don't just this. I don't get relationship vibes from this song, and it does actually feel like. And I know the whole thing is like a song sounding optimistic while being rather blank.
Well, I mean, I can buy, right? I thought of all the things I'd like to say, cramped up and couldn't write a word all day, just waited for my world to fall apart while I'll never finish anything I start, right? So like maybe like getting dumped. Here are things I would like to say, but I couldn't write a word, or maybe getting dumped or trying to dump. Like maybe it's like you both know that the relationship's about to end, right? So like you wanted to say a bunch of things but couldn't write a word. And then you're like, all right, well, the world's gonna fall apart, so I'll wait for her to do it because I'll never finish anything I start. I'm not gonna start something.
I definitely can see that in that view of it.
But I mean, I agree, right? I never thought about that until right now. I think it's.
I think this is a song about songwriting. Like
I buy that too. I definitely buy the song about songwriting. Yeah,
I'm
for
completely
sure.
bored with every single word. I know that feeling. As
nothing ever works in this juvenile search. Systematically revealing to me that I need a new approach. That sounds a lot like a song about songwriting. I agree.
That sounds super hard to like someone like.
Oh, for sure.
Fucking hating what they've written.
Yeah. And the fact that the song ends without like completing, right? That's why I'll never finish anything and then the music keeps going, but the lyrics don't. Like I think I mean I agree.
Kind of staring in the face. I don't feel like this is forever what I'm gonna think of the song as.
Quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey man, the clock is ticking. Again, it sounds a lot like a song after like the lyrics feel like it's maybe they had like been on a big label and then left the big label, like a song that would be on Go, because it's the experience of being forced to write a song by a studio and not being able to. Like it kind of feels like that. But I agree. What feels the magic in the meantime? I know it's hard without a vice. Like if you stop trying to stop doing drugs, it's hard to write without the drugs. I buy it. Hey, look at this. The next song meanings thing says, the chorus kind of reminds me of like the songwriting process, having writer's block or not being able to concentrate on one thing for too long. And the next one also says, I think it's about the songwriting process and feeling like you have nothing to say, can't say anything now that you're clean. Reminds me of the Coen Brothers movie Barton Fink, with the whole self-destructive artist who drinks when he can't write. Sadly, I think I kind of idolize that. Long story short, it's hard to write something because of ridiculous amounts of self-doubt / loathing. Yeah. I think the songwriting angle is probably the most logical angle. Another one saying the same thing. I honestly think Justice talking to himself, him working through the songwriting process without the vice of alcohol. You're too afraid to face the outcome. Quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey, man, the clock is ticking. Justin saying all the things to himself. He's frustrated. My favorite verse is, what feels the magic in the meantime? I know it's hard without a vice. He's questioning what is going to get him through the songwriting process without alcohol and drugs or vices. The magic, of course, being the music. Yeah, I think
I know
this-
that a Vice makes the most sense, but I just cannot not hear advice.
baffling because I cannot hear Advice. I mean, maybe if I go back and listen to it, I might try to hear it, but I've always heard a Vice. Which is funny because usually I'm so used to being wrong in these things, like hearing something and being like, oh, I guess that was wrong the whole time. But not this time. Actually, I feel like this album, in general, even if it kills me, is the one where Justin's lyrics, like singing, is the tightest in a way of like it's very hard to misunderstand any lyric in this album, I feel. Whereas I think in all the other albums, there's stuff I've misheard, but I don't think there's really anything I misheard too badly, and even if it kills me. Any other thoughts before we go to covers?
None.
None. All right. So here are a couple. It's a lot of all I found were White Guy with Acoustic Guitar covers. Just, it's fine. It's fine. So here's the first two. So the first one is they're pretty much the same. It's just again just a guy on an acoustic guitar. The first one's going to be Nicholas Berlincourt. And this is from October of 2017. Here is the first cover. Can't finish what you started.
Why can't you finish what you started? Why can't you try and understand? It doesn't make a bit of difference if you start what you can finish. Every story needs an ending after all.
So yeah, just a very competent acoustic guitar cover. The other one from Matt Hurley, again, pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to play a second of it here.
All day, just waiting for my world to fall apart. That's why I never finish anything I start. What feels the magic in the meantime?
So yeah, again, just two like very competent covers. I actually feel like the Matt Hurley one, I like the he plays around a little bit with the strumming pattern. I don't know if that's a choice or it's like me where I have trouble with strumming patterns sometimes. And he was just, doing whatever felt most comfortable to him, which sometimes can work out well. But the one that I really like is this one from Chase Capener, where he actually does the thing that I like, where he plays around with it a little bit. So here is the Chase Capener cover.
Why can't you finish what you started? Why can't you try and understand? It doesn't make a bit of difference if you start what you can't finish. Every story needs an ending after all. I think I've known you for a long time. Suffice to say it's been a while. When you're too afraid to face the outcome, quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey man, the clock is ticking.
Dude, that guy's voice is so good.
Yeah, he's got a really nice voice, and he does does the thing where he like plays around with the structure a little bit.
Recognizes that he's not. His voice is definitely not that Pierre.
Yeah. It's greip. If
That guy's voice is so good.
I'm a
God
big fan of
damn.
this one. If this wasn't like recorded on a like, it looks like it's recorded on a cell phone. Like just like the quality of the video is pretty low and stuff like that. But like I would absolutely like put this on my phone and listen to it. By the way, apparently he does lots of like readings on YouTube.
Yeah,
2 weeks
I'm
ago.
looking at his page right now. He's got. It looks like he's got a mic now. Dude, you should ask him to do some more covers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's
see,
been
does he
doing
have a
stuff
Twitter?
for the last couple of months, apparently. I mean, you can,
Capener on Twitter. Let's see.
yeah. I was a big fan of this one. And like, it's one of those things that I love of like just messing around with the, the lyrics and, the way you're singing them.
He did a Mountain Goats cover, and this Twitter account I found is following 4 accounts: Mountain Goats, Iron and Wine, Bon Iver, and Stephen Colbert.
Bon Iver.
Bon Iver. Yeah, that is the first time I've ever heard that said aloud.
You've really?
Honestly.
Oh yeah, maybe you don't remember when they got when I think Bon Iver's one person got really big briefly. Actually, Matt wears a Bon Iver shirt a lot in, like, if you go and like look for
you have increased my knowledge of Bon Iver significantly. I knew they existed.
I believe it's just a guy. It might be a band. I'm not sure. But if you go back and watch some of the, like, especially around Go era videos, Matt's wearing a Bon Iver shirt very often. Bon Iver, by the way, is also mentioned in a Childish Gambino song where he says he doesn't want his, like, something about his parents is, I don't want them missing. Oh, by the way, it is a band. I don't want them missing a son like Bone's last name, because Bon Iver, and if you add the son, it's Iverson. So missing the son from Iverson. It's a it's from Camp. Sick. And it's one of those, like, this is too clever for its own good lyrics, you know? Like, that doesn't make any sense if you're not reading it on Genius. But it's one of those things of, like, oh man, that's so clever. And it's like, yeah, but it's too clever. Like, it's too much. But I love it. This last cover is from Ambiguous J. Surprisingly, all these covers are from the last couple years. 2017, I think 2016. This one's from 2018. But here is Ambiguous J. Can't Finish What You Started.
Why can't you try and understand? It doesn't make a bit of difference if you start what you can't finish. Every story needs an ending after all. I think I've known it for a long time.
Really quick, they mentioned the harmonies at the end, so I wanna see if or harmonies or harmonics. Well, let's find out. So let me skip to the end a little bit and play that.
Things I try to say, crept up and couldn't write a word all day. I just waited for my world to fall apart. That's why I'll never finish anything.
Dude, that guy looks like Luke Perry.
Rest in peace, Luke Perry.
Rest in peace, indeed. Fucking rhythm.
He does look like Luke Perry,
right? Yeah, go to like 304 and you can get the full on. That is a pretty strong likeness of.
Yeah, I don't know about 304, but at like 229 when he's looking down at the guitar, like I really buy that. Yeah, for sure.
Also, I like that. Just the lighting of this. It doesn't make her look like super transparent, but kind of transparent. Like ghost sync.
So I don't know if he meant harmonics or harmonies, because he did a harmony and a harmonic at the end. But the harmonic was bad. He made a mistake. Fine, shit happens. But the harmony was sick. Like, I really liked the harmonies at the end. Don't know about the harmonics as much. Unless I'm misunderstanding harmonics. I thought he meant like a harmonic scale that he played on a guitar, but he might just mean the harmonies, because the harmonies were sick. It's one of the nice things about having more than one person. But yeah, that is Ambiguous J. They're like, I think, like a legitimate group of some sort. I don't know, maybe not. But they're posting. Like, they've only been around on YouTube for like a year. There's more of this Luke Perry looking gentleman. A little bit less like Luke Perry in this video. No, he still looks like Luke Perry.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, wow.
The platform spotlight video, especially.
Yeah, that's weird. It is weird. All right. So those are the covers. However, we have an alternate version. And I thought this one had I don't know. Does this acoustic version have xylophone on it, or is it a different instrument?
I don't. I've definitely listened to it, but I don't remember it.
I thought it was xylophone before, but then I listened to it and I was like, I don't know if this is xylophone or not. But I'll play the beginning of a little bit because I know how much you love xylophone.
Hell yeah. That's not a xylophone. That sounds like I mean, really, it just sounds like a keyboard with something. But there's
Yeah, I think it might be a piano.
it does just kind of sound like a keyboard to me.
Yeah, but I don't know. I as I always say, no one covers Motion City Soundtrack and Motion City Soundtrack. Let me play a little bit in the middle here.
I think I've known it for a long time. Suffice to say, it's been a while. You're too afraid to face the outcome. Quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey man, the clock is ticking. I thought of all the things I like to say. Cramped up and couldn't write a word.
It kind of sounds like a harp in the background.
A harp?
I'm not saying it is. I'm just almost like there's a harp in the background.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no harps listed, but that could just be because they didn't list anything for the acoustic EP. I should check the record. But I think Justin's voice sounds a little like raw, like maybe I don't know, like maybe this is like I don't know if this is the first one recorded on the acoustic sessions or what, but it sounds like a little more like honestly less tight, which I like, right? Just like instead of like I thought of all the things, like very smooth. It's like I thought of all the things. Like it sounds just a little bit rougher. I don't know. I like it a lot.
This like the more this happens every time. Like man, but have you listened to this latest song I've listened to a dozen times in a day? Boy, but really, like I the more I listen to it, the more I like how he sings it on this. Like, and I don't know if that's just because when I listen to a song of a band I particularly like, and I'm pretty much good with every song like over and over again, then I'm just going to like it more as opposed to getting burnt out. But I just, at least right now, I really really like how he sings just everything on this track.
Yeah,
I don't know. It feels like to me, like, you know how when it comes to songwriting, when it comes to singing and music in general, like you're setting up expectations and then delivering, and that's both in lyrics and like rhyme, but then also in like musical structure. And it just feels like this song especially sets up expectations and then delivers on it. The thing I think about the specific line is when he sings, I thought of all the things I like to say, and they do the mm-hmm. I feel like it's a lot of that where there's the expectation that they sing that, but then I feel like that keeps happening. Like, I don't know. I really really like how this is sung.
Yeah. Real quick, so I can correct a couple of things that I think we have already gotten wrong. The engineering on this track and all the Schlesinger Janney tracks was by Jeff Sanoff. Chris Shaw did do all the Record Kasich tracks. Tom Lord Alge only did the engineering on Calling All Cops, according to the liner notes on the Even If It Kills Me 10th anniversary vinyl. Additional engineering on the Schlesinger Janney tracks was by John Holbrook, Rudyard Lee Cullors, and Arjun Agarwala. And then track 7, The Conversation, was produced by Motion City Soundtrack, not by Ackerson, just by quote unquote Motion City Soundtrack, engineered by Jeff Sanoff and Arjun Agarwala and recorded in New York City. But it was mixed by Chris Shaw. But that is not that track we're talking about. That's The Conversation. And then the acoustic EP was recorded at Flower Studio and engineered by Ed Ackerson. But there's violin on Fell in Love Without You. There's backing vocals, an extra backing vocalist on Broken Heart. But otherwise, the instrumentation says Justin on vocals, guitar, keyboard, spinning toys, hands. Josh, guitars and hands. Tony, percussion and hands. Jesse, hands and internet, which means Jesse did not play any instruments on the acoustic EP. And Matt, bass, vocals, keyboards, piano, hands. I assume for like claps and stuff or the hands. But so I think what you thought was harp, I think is just probably piano.
Yeah. And I said I don't think it was actually harp.
I'm just saying what sounded like harp to you. I'm just looking at the liner notes and telling you it appears there was no harp, so it must be piano or hands. Maybe it's hands.
It's the hand harp.
Yeah, the hand harp.
I think that's actually a thing, right?
I think it might be the mouth harp. The mouth harp is a thing,
I
right?
might probably think of a mouth harp.
Yeah. What is the mouth harp? Is that just another name for harmonica?
I think so. No,
That's
I think
weird.
it's a different. I think it's like a disc.
It is a
I think
different
it was
thing. When I Google it, the first result is for Jew's harp, which is like, why would you still call the Wikipedia page that? Like,
Okay.
you would think. I don't know. It's definitely not a harmonica.
Definitely not. That is quite the
Very
name.
Very weird. Yeah, I don't know how life works. All right, I think that's it. Do you have any final thoughts on Can't Finish What You Started?
I think I've said them.
All right, then we'll finish what we started, which is this episode. I got a lot of those in this week. I got that's like a third one.
Hell yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter at Motion City Pod. I am at Kuhan. Jake is at XFIP minus. That's XFIP, and the word minus spelled out. It is a baseball stat.
I'm gonna get XFIP one of these days.
You can get a better. Like there's so many better Twitter handles at this point. Like I'm going to force you to register Jake Walden if it's not already taken. Oh, it's taken. That's fine. You can find us on Instagram at Motion City Pod. You can find us on patreon.com/Motion City Pod. But don't, like I always say, you can email us motioncitypod at gmail.com. If there's some social media network you think we should be on that we're not on yet, I don't know, ask us. But I barely even post on the Twitter, let alone the Instagram. There's anyway. There's one other thing that I'm supposed to say, right? I feel there's something else that I'm missing here. You can find us on all major podcast platforms. Be sure to rate and review us anywhere you can, but especially iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever. If we're not searchable in your favorite podcatcher, then go to our Twitter and our pinned tweet will tell you. Actually, you gotta show the thread. No, you don't. Yeah, you show the thread on our pinned tweet and you'll find out how to subscribe. Or just go to iamkuhan.com/motioncity and every episode will have the RSS subscription link. And if you would like me to walk you through subscribing on a non-major platform, then I'd be happy to do so. We're not on Pocket Casts yet, so you have to subscribe to that one manually, but I do. I think that is it, right? Can we finish what we started?
Yes.
Boom. That's 4. All right. Then, I don't know. Should that be the ending? Until next time. Now we've finished what we started. No.
That's
no. Bad. Not happening. See you next week.
Why can't you finish what you started? Why can't you try and understand? It doesn't make a bit of difference if you start what you can't finish. Every story needs an ending after all. I think I've known you for a long time. Suffice to say it's been a while. When you're too afraid to face the outcome, quite likely you're a failure. It's a shitty thing to say, but hey man, the clock is ticking. I've thought of all the things I'd like to say, cramped up and couldn't write a word all day. I just waited for my world to fall apart. That's why I'll never finish anything I start.